I'm going to try making one of these without my face covered and see how it goes. Probably a bad idea at the beginning, but I made a video about 6 years ago because I saw there was this evangelical preacher, and again, just a tangent real quick. Anybody who cares about, is concerned about the ethnic cleansing of people, the genociding of people, or, you know, the preservation of ancient cultures, especially if you are any form of Catholic or Orthodox or even Anglican or Lutheran, I think would agree with this. Sound the alarm bells about what the evangelicals are doing in the camps. And this is one of the things I meant by the difference between proselytizing and evangelizing. Continuing on. You guys have already heard me rant about that in the previous video. I saw a video, I was on Vice, about a preacher, an evangelist, that would preach to these MMA fighters. Okay. But, and there are Christians who like MMA. I've watched MMA before. It's not really my thing anymore. You know, but there is a gut instinct of, like, especially when that one chick, Beth Correa, I think is how I saw her name once, but when she was talking all types of crap to Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey took her out. But then Ronda Rousey's acting all tough and everything, she got taken out. So there's that human instinct where we like to see people get taken down a peg. But physically brutalizing somebody, the goal of damaging and hurting and brutalizing somebody for money, is that Christian? No. Is watching one human being destroy and dominate another human being physically to the point where there's broken bones, concussions, possible death, combat, stuff like that. Is that Christian? No. Am I for people knowing how to defend themselves? Yes. Am I a pacifist? No. Do I believe that it is every human being's right to own and carry a gun for their own self-protection? Yes. Do I believe it's an obligation of the Christian to pick up arms and defend the innocent, the women, the children, the defenseless, the elderly, those in hospital? Yeah, I believe that that's an obligation within parameters, right? It's not like you can just say, you have to go through other means first. That's the whole idea, the just war thing. And is there a difference between being victimized because you can't defend yourself and being, and not returning, repaying violence for violence, even though you do know how to defend yourself? Yeah, there is a difference. And also, I believe that the turn the other cheek applies to when presenting the gospel. It doesn't. It's not an overall thing. It's not, oh, that convent full of nuns is being burnt. They're being raped and murdered. I don't want to risk my salvation by going and trying to stop that. That is the exact opposite for what Christ did. That's the exact opposite what Christians do. Now, Saint Moses of Ethiopia, also known as Saint Moses the Strong or Saint Moses the Black, very famous Eastern Orthodox Christian, or Eastern Orthodox saint. He was also Eastern Orthodox Christian, but I think he's pretty much a saint in every faction of Christianity. And it's funny, people get them mixed up with with the Moses of the Exodus. That's whatever. But he was a he was a renowned raider and an extremely violent man who then found Christ. And he was at Skeet Monastery, and raiders were coming. I don't know if they were the Saracens, but you know, these raiders were coming to pretty much like the Vikings or the Saracens. They would just kill to kill, like a berserker raid, right? And monasteries held objects that could be ransomed, and they also, got donations of things like gold or whatever. The men lived in poverty, but of course you'd want, the chalice to be, something that would remain pure, and gold remains pure and doesn't corrode or anything, so it can be used for hundreds of years. And it's pretty much one of the only metals that can do that. And it doesn't taint anything like bronze would. But yeah. So as they were coming, the other desert fathers and monastics left, and what did Saint Moses do? He sat there and he said, "Why are you sitting here, brother?" He says, "Well, you live by the sword and you die by the sword." He believed he had to die because he committed so much violence and he had killed. That was the proper way, that he needed to witness with his blood to these people, because maybe when they saw him, this renowned warrior who now refused to fight, that would be presenting the gospel to him, and it was presenting the gospel to him. And Saint Moses was killed. He took a chance, and he was killed. Um, but again, we don't really consider him dying. We consider him being, you know, that in his moment of glory, being, you know, witnessing and basically proving to us that he is now, in the fullness. Um, but no, MMA, you know, I don't. It's just like the ancient arena. It's not. It's not something that Christians. You can't. You shouldn't be pointing fingers at people and be judging them and saying, "Oh, you're not a Christian because you watch MMA." That's that's worse, right? But advocating for it and saying, "Oh, you can do this evangelical idea that you can do anything, especially if it's sinful, but if it's in Christ's name, that or for the glory of God, that it's somehow then good." No, especially when it's violence, blood sport, and it's not like baseball. Oh, you can get, or hockey. The goal isn't to, you know, put the put the person in a concussion or cause them immense physical pain so that they have to tap out, right? It's that they are modern day gladiators. Can somebody be a Christian and an MMA fighter? Absolutely. Is it hypocritical, contradictory? Absolutely. Is every single one of us like that? Yes. Maybe John the Baptist. I know people say, well, there you could possibly, live, by the end of your life not like that, and people would say, well, what about John the Baptist and the Virgin Mary? Okay, I'll grant you they did not sin by commission, but they did sin by omission, obviously, and we know that, because God looked down and said everybody's a sinner. But yet, no, this idea of, because I just saw a video and it was shockingly similar to the video that I made 6 years ago by, I think, Ascension Presents, and it was a Catholic priest. But no, this was back when, and again, I don't understand this. George Foreman devoted his life to Christ after his boxing career, right? That's when he became devout. when he stopped using his hands to injure somebody for money while people sat around, and specifically watched for bloodlust type of thing. Now, if you watch WWF or WWE or whatever it's called, the professional quote unquote wrestling, that's basically ballet. I don't know who watches that, honestly. I actually watch commentary of those things because they're just making fun of all this stuff. But I don't think anybody actually gets hurt intentionally in those things. I mean, it's ludicrous. They're obviously pre-planned, and nobody's actually getting punched or kicked. And wrestling at the high school level, like actual grappling, is that's not hurting or damaging somebody. That actually is a sport. Running, baseball, stuff like that, soccer. I never got into American football, but no, MMA. It's ludicrous. I am going to break this person's face for Christ. What? And you can't compare it to, oh, it's like being a soldier, and no, they're modern day warriors. No, they're not. Might be modern day gladiators, but they're not warriors. And if they are, if you want to compare them to anything militaristically, it's mercenary, because it's the exact definition. They're doing it for money, or if they're doing it for pleasure, it's even worse, isn't it? That's Don't we consider that psychotic and sociopathic? And these men end up, these highly concussed men end up, who are trained to be violent and to fight. There's suicide. I mean, highly, a lot of damage on the brain. We've seen this in professional wrestling and football, so we're going to see it start to emerge like crazy in MMA, of men, one, attacking their women who like to be around men like this, two, suicide, and three, probably violent outbursts and attacks on people, and four, early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. So, but even if none of those were part of it, were outcomes of it, you still have paid violence and enjoying this type of violence, right? I don't see it as a good Christian thing to do. Now, if you like it, if you watch it, you're not going to see me pointing fingers at you saying, oh, bad person. Where does boxing lie in this? I don't know. Um, but only somebody like an evangelical would go into an MMA gym, encourage people in this, and then say they can be doing it for Christ. Cripple that man for Christ, break his teeth out for Christ, shatter his nose for Christ, break his shin for Christ. No. This is this is lunacy of when you just say me and my Bible, and then you just there's no the church doesn't exist to you, even though it's all throughout the New Testament, wrote, edited, and compiled the whole Bible. Yeah. All right. Peace to you. You may think you look cool, but then again, whenever you take something secular that's not very good and then slap Christian on it, Christian rock, right? Rock and roll is awesome. Christian rock sucks. Does anybody out there like contemporary Christian music? Gospel is good, but gospel is is from the church, right? Ancient hymns from Syria, Ethiopia, and Armenia and Greece are beautiful, and ancient Gregorian chants is beautiful because it's from and of the church. But just co-opting, taking something, and then Christian, all right, peace to you.